All right, waiting for everyone to join. Super excited to talk Airbnb. We are going to be talking about the 3 secrets to starting your Airbnb and how to find the best locations. So my name is nanaalicenyarko. In case you don't know me, I'm excited that you're here. Let me know if the music is kind of loud. It's loud for me. It's my first time using music on my live. But yeah, if you are interested in Airbnb or if you know anybody interested in Airbnb, go ahead and share this live with 5 people. Let them know we're going to be doing a little bit of training today for the free 99. So come on in. Hello, Kia Plus. Hi, Ty Harper. I can read. Yeah, so we're going to be talking all about Airbnb, the 3 secrets to starting, and then how to find the best locations. So if you guys have questions as we're going through, feel free to drop them in the chat. Like I said, my name is nanaalicenyarko, and I'm going to pause the music. But yes, my name is nanaalicenyarko. I have hosted over 20 short-term rental Airbnbs since 2014. I was able to book over $250,000 in bookings in just 1 year. So now what I love to do is share with people how to get started so they can start their own short-term rental or Airbnb for passive income and cash flow. So that is what we're going to be talking about. Hey, Cam Shag, I think. Hey, Coach Bia's 88. I'm getting better at reading like people's profile screens or names. So anyway, yes, this is all about how to get started. So we can dive right in. And guys, I'm using badges for the very first time. So if you are able to, or if you want to, if you like the information and you want to give me a little badge, if you don't know what a badge is, it's like giving a little tip. Feel free to drop a badge or buy a badge. I'm not sure. But yeah, feel free to do that. Thank you so much, Kia. She said the BNB package is the truth. Yeah. So Kamisha, I have a law degree. I am actually an attorney, but sometimes it's so hard for me to read people's names, which is really bad. But I'm so glad you guys are here. So let's dive right into it. So if you don't know my story, I started in 2014. I used to Airbnb my place. I lived in a nice apartment and I used to have to travel a lot for work. So I would Airbnb my place whenever I was out of town for work or even for fun, just as a way to like make some extra money. Like even throughout law school, before law school, I was always a side hustler. I was always looking for extra ways to make money. My friends would be like, but you're in school. And I'd be like, your point. Yeah, when I was out of school and I would travel for work and fun, I would just Airbnb my place. And then I was on a contract job as an attorney and I was actually laid off. So I was in this expensive apartment, like my bills were still there, like, hey sis, you gonna pay us? So what I decided to do was Airbnb a room in my apartment, basically part-time or full-time, to make income. And I started to make enough to like cover my rent. Then I started to make enough to make more than my rent on some months. And then it just grew from there. I partnered with a friend of mine who owned some rental properties. She was having trouble. It was vacant and she was having trouble leasing it. I said, well, I've been doing this Airbnb thing. Are you interested? We partnered on that. And then I just had people who were interested. So I either partnered, but then I also went out and leased properties specifically for Airbnb. So that's kind of my story and what we are going to talk about today, especially how to get started with or without buying property. Because I know for a lot of people, you may be okay and ready to buy property, but you might not want to buy one specifically just to Airbnb, right? Or maybe you're not in a place that you want to or are ready to buy property. And I always say, I'm a big proponent of buying real estate, so I never want people to think, oh, like I'm against buying real estate. Not at all. I just like to show people a way to be able to get into short-term rentals and Airbnb without having to wait till they're fully ready to buy a property, or even if they are ready to buy a property, to do it without having to use all of that upfront capital. Okay, so let's dive right in. Secret number 1 is But secret number one is that now is a really good time to get started in Airbnb and short-term rentals. And why do I say that? Well, number one, of course, we all know what happened last year, COVID. That was a very interesting time to be in short-term rentals, but by the end of the year, things were pretty good. And people are itching to travel, right? So people have been home for so long. They're ready. People are starting to plan their trips. I know for me, I've got some trips planned that hopefully will work out. And there's a travel boom happening, right? So there've been an increase in the number of flights in the last 3 months. There's an increase in people coming, or states that are fully open now. Some states have removed their masks requirements. So there's just an increase in travel. So there's a huge travel boom coming, and there are going to need to be more short-term rental hosts. For example, the CEO of AIRBNB, Brian Chesky, said recently that because of the travel boom, they actually don't have enough hosts to meet the demand that they see coming. So right now is a good time to get in, because you want to get in, learn the business, figure out where you're going to host, figure out if you're going to host in your own city or if you're going to do it remotely, figure out all those steps so that when the travel boom increases, when there's so much more demand, you are already set up and ready to meet it. So that is number one. Number two is that there's kind of been a shift in the way that people rent property even. So because of the pandemic, there have been a lot more people that are interested in shorter leases, right? Because of so much uncertainty, they don't know if they want to really stay in one particular city. Maybe they've moved to a city and they're not sure exactly where they want to live. So people are looking for leases that are not necessarily your traditional 12-month lease, right? They might want something for 3 months, 6 months, or just something that's on a month-to-month basis. And they may want something that's already furnished and local to whatever it is that they're looking for. So that is a whole demographic of people that aren't necessarily being served by the traditional rental market. So that's another reason why it's a great time to get started, because of that growing shift in just the way that people are living. For example, last year, when the pandemic hit, of course, that first 2 to 3 weeks was a bloodbath because of all the cancellations and stuff. But I always tell people I pivoted, and we pivoted to hosting a lot more travel nurses. And travel nurses are nurses who basically get assignments in another city for a couple of months at a time at different hospitals. And so they need furnished places for a couple of months. So we hosted them, but then I also had a couple of different people who they just during lockdown, they wanted somewhere else to stay, and they weren't sure how long they were going to stay in the city. So they just kept at the end of every single month, they were oh, I want to stay another month. They just kept rebooking with me basically. And I had more than one person just do that, and then students as well. So, with everything going on, some universities are open, some are not, but some students, college students, don't want to go all the way back home. They want to stay close to their friends, or they want to stay close to the university for school whenever they can go on campus. So I had some students who they lived in Wisconsin or something, and their school was in DC, and they wanted to stay near campus and be around their friends, even through, the lockdowns and all that. So they stayed with us for a couple months. So all of this lends itself to having more opportunity to host short term, right? And start your own Airbnb. So that's number one, is that now is a really, really good time to get started. And guys, if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I will answer them, as best as I can. And feel free to drop a badge or buy a badge. But anyway, if you like the content, right? So number two is how you can get started with or without buying a property, right? So you can actually start Airbnb without buying property. A lot of people kind of put themselves on the sidelines when they think, oh, I can't get started because, I don't have the capital or the funds to buy a property right now. But when you think that way, you put yourself on the sidelines and you miss out on a valuable source of another stream of income, passive income, cash flow, right? Because this is a great side hustle that can eventually become your main hustle if you want it to, or just stay a side hustle, right? It doesn't have to be like your entire new job, right? You can keep it as a side hustle, whether you get it managed for you or you manage it yourself. So the ways that I show people to get started without buying is, number one, you can always use your own space. So like if you have an extra room in your home, or a basement apartment or an in-law suite, or maybe you actually own some investment property. You can maybe diversify your portfolio. So maybe you've got a traditional rental and then you're gonna have a short-term rental, right? You wanna think about your own resources and what you have. And then of course what you're comfortable with. If you're hosting in your own home, you have to be comfortable doing that. And like, you know, people were like, how did you feel about hosting in your own home? And I was like, I felt great once the money was deposited into my bank account, so it worked out for me. But that's one way of getting started, right? Really, like think about house hacking, right? People house hack all the time, and you can house hack the traditional way with regular or traditional rentals and leases, or you can do it with Airbnb and short-term rentals. Another way to get started is to actually master lease. That's what I call it, right? A lot of people call it rental arbitrage or subletting even, but this is basically when you go out, you find a property for rent, and with the landlord's permission, you go ahead and use that property, you lease it, and you use that property for Airbnb, right? And I always say and emphasize with the landlord's permission, because you don't want those problems. Like you don't want to have to trying to be ducking the landlord and making up things and excuses and all that. Just get permission to use the space for Airbnb. But this is a great way to get started as well, because when you compare it to buying a property, right? So buying a property, let's say for example, you're buying a property that costs like $300,000, right? You're gonna have to put down, or however much, you're gonna have to put down, if it's an investment property, like 20%, right? Down payment. You're gonna have to do closing costs. You're gonna have to do any like repairs, things like that, anything the house or property needs. All of that capital, that could be anywhere from like 80,000 to 100, depends on the price of the property, right? And that's all before you've even like set it up for Airbnb. That's all before you've furnished it and like listed it and gotten all that together. Versus with master leasing, right? It's gonna be anywhere, depending on the type of property you get, it's gonna be anywhere from like a couple thousand, like maybe anywhere from, depends on how much they want for a deposit, right? It could be anywhere from $500 deposit to like a couple thousand or 1 month's rent. But that's much less than, 20% down payment and XYZ, right? So this is why with master leasing, it's a lot less capital that you need to get started. I'm not gonna be taking anyone into the live right now because I'm like tripping. I have a call right after this that I have to be on. But if you have questions, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them before I have to jump. But what was I saying? Yeah, so it's a lot less capital to get started with master leasing, right? And so with master leasing, the way that you make money is, let's say your rent is $1,500 and you book $4,000 on Airbnb, and then you've got like your utilities or any other expenses, right? When you deduct all of those expenses, everything left over is your profit and your income. So this is a great way to get started because you need a lot less money, right? And this is a great way to be able to scale your business because for the fact that you need less money, you can do it and repeat it more times. And then the third way to get started is with co-hosting. So co-hosting is one of my favorite ways to get started and get into this business because you basically don't need any capital to get started for the most part, maybe like some small software tools or things like that. But with co-hosting, you are basically hosting someone else's property on Airbnb for them. And the way you make money is that you get a percentage of the bookings. So let's say you and the owner agree to like a 20%. Oh my gosh, Belmage Beauty. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this. Thank you for buying a badge. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited, guys. This is my first time using badges. Can you see how much of a nerd I am? But anyway, thank you for buying a badge. I'm sorry I butchered your profile, but thank you so much. You are a beauty. So anyway, I was saying co-hosting. Yeah, you would agree to like a fee, a percentage of the booking. So let's say you agree on 15% or 20%. That is your fee. So let's say, you agreed on 20% and it makes $2,000. You get 20% of that every month. And you didn't come out of pocket. You didn't have to pay a deposit. You didn't have to pay a down payment. You didn't even have to pay for furniture because it's the owner's property. So they're going to furnish it. And if you're like me and you like design, then you can actually help them to put it together and design it and furnish it for a fee. And I've done that before as well. So co-hosting is a great way to get started. People always ask me like, which is better? It really depends on your preferences. Do you like working with other people? Because with co-hosting, you are working with the owner. Do you have the funds to get started with master leasing? Because you do need the funds. And then it just depends on how much you want to scale and grow. So for me, co-hosting, I did both. But co-hosting was a great way for me to grow rapidly because there are so many people who are interested in Airbnb. They like the idea of it. They like the money that it brings in, but they have no clue how to host, right? So that's where you can come in and provide a solution to their problem. So that is how you get started without buying property. So let me answer a couple of questions that I see. Is there a portal to work through with the Airbnb? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Do you mean actually, I'm not sure. Do you mean, if you can clarify that question a little bit, that'll help me answer it a bit better. Master leasing, you still need capital to furnish. That's correct. There's still a few thousand. Yeah, so yes, it's not free to master lease at all because you do need to put it down a deposit. You need to furnish the whole place depending on how big it is. That could be a little bit, that could be a lot. I show people how to do it without going overboard and without spending too much money so that you're not necessarily in the thousands. There are some secrets and you can get that in my course. I give you a full guide on where I like to shop and what I like to buy. I give you a shopping list. But yeah, you do have to have capital for master leasing. It's not like you could just show up with nothing. Co-hosting is the best way to go. How do you get more clients to co-host? So I wouldn't say co-hosting is the best way to go. Like I said before, it's going to depend on your preferences and where you are, in terms of capital, in terms of how much, what is it that you want to do? Are you looking to grow? How do you get more clients to co-host? I do show you how to do that in the course, but really I like to call it your village search, right? So think about your village, right? Mine your village for potential clients and potential people to co-host for. Okay. When it comes to furnishing the unit, what websites or vendors can I contact to have the furniture sent out in a timely manner? Because some furniture retailers can take up to 4 months. Yeah, so you don't want to, so two things. You don't want to go with your old school furniture people who are customizing or building the furniture for you, right? You want to go with people with a quick turnaround time. I've shopped anywhere from IKEA to Amazon to Wayfair. I have a whole list of the places that I really like to shop. But turnaround time is key because in short-term rental world, days are money. Every day you could be potentially making money, right? Every night you could make a nightly rate. So every night that you're not set up and you're waiting for furniture and deliveries and things like that, you're missing out on money. So, that's something that you would look up. First thing when you're looking at any sort of vendor is, okay, what's the turnaround time for delivery? And one thing to note is right now in this time, there are a lot of back orders. one, because of COVID, and two, because of all the issues that have happened recently with shipping containers. It's like all these things came together around the same time to make things have a lot of delays. So you have to be very diligent when you're looking at furniture retailers. Don't just order something and then not pay attention to the delivery time. Like if you need to, call them, right? So that's a big deal. How do I find someone to co-host? I kind of answered that. Is there a website to look for them? Yeah, so I do include like different websites that I have found co-hosts on in the course. But also, like I said, you can definitely mind your village. Like think of the people that you know who might be interested, who might have property. How much is the course? It's 75% off right now at $597. It usually is a little over $2,000, but you can actually get started as well. You can get started for basically for free, $0 for 6 months using PayPal Pay Later. There's no payments for 6 months and no interest for 6 months. So you can take that entire time you get full access to the course. You can take that entire time to get yourself set up and make the payments whenever you feel like it. The other option is to do the payment plan, which is $180 for 4 payments, or you can just do paid in full and it's $597. But yeah, that's 75% off. Do you have any ways that you can gain capital from master leasing other than your own funds? So yeah, there are different kind of ways. I do include all the ones that I've used before in the course. But for example, if you have access to like 0% credit cards, that's a great way. I'm always like, try not to overspend or overextend yourself. If you can save up the capital, that's great. If not, you can use 0% credit cards and some other ways to get yourself started. The less interest you have to pay, the better, right? Let's see. Pertaining to occupancy rates, I've seen most at 60%. Would shooting for 100% be unrealistic? So that's a hard question to answer. It's going to depend on your location. 100%, like on the nose every single day, it's not unrealistic if you're doing like 30 days or more rentals. So like when I'm renting to travel nurses, technically it's 100% occupied. But if you're doing more like traditional short-term rentals, you want to aim for I like to see 80%. Sometimes if you're at 100%, that probably means that even 80% is a little high. That probably means that you are priced too low. And it's better to be priced, in my opinion, to be priced a little higher and make the same amount without having so many turnovers in 1 month than to have so many turnovers and your price lower, if that makes sense. Can I send the link so I can pay? That would have been smart to have the link ready. You can see. I'm going to go get the link and come right back. I don't know if you'll still be able to see me, but I'm coming right back. Okay. I think I didn't lose you guys, right? Okay. So I'm going to post the link. It's also the first link in my bio. I should have said that. But I just posted it in the chat. Let me go back and look at the questions. So hopefully you see that. You can definitely get started. Like I said, it's 75% off right now. It's usually a little over $2,000. So, and then you can also get started for basically for free using PayPal's Pay Later. All right, let me get back to these questions. I answered that one. Answered that. Is applying under your EIN with a rental a good start? Yeah, it can. It definitely can be. It's some people like to do it in their LLC. Some people do it in their own name. I prefer to do it in my LLC. And if you want to run it like a business, you can use your EIN so that it all shows under there. But yeah, if you've got one already, you can definitely do that. And I talk a little bit more about that and show you how to set up your LLC if you don't have one already in the course. Okay, better to reach higher profit margin. Exactly. Yes. Let me see if I could. Goldie Love. Okay, I could read that one. Yes, better to have reach a higher profit margin than being booked and busy all the time. Exactly. And I had to learn this the hard way. Not even the hard way, but just a lesson to be learned. I have had months in the past where I'm booked and busy, basically. Like, it's so many cleaning turnovers, and no, I'm not doing the cleanings myself, but even still, like, that's a lot of churn, right? It's a lot of wear on the property. It's just a lot going on. So it's not a bad thing because you're making money all the time, but you know, if you're at 100% when you're not doing like longer stays, you know, you might want to look at your pricing. Does my course teach about the short-term rentals for travel nurses? So I kind of touched on it a little bit, but I have a whole separate course on how to host travel nurses. That is, I think, the third link in my bio, second or third. It's the BNB Travel Nurse Hosting course, but you can actually get them both. So when you go to buy the Airbnb course, on the checkout page, there'll be an option to add the travel nurse course at a discount, so you can do that there as well. So yeah, that's a totally separate course, just because like I want to make sure that you know all the steps of how to actually book travel nurses specifically, because you know every different niche, I guess you could say, of guest is looking for something different. So I wanted to dedicate a whole program just to finding travel nurses. And this, I also made it separate because it works for people who are not even really doing short-term rental Airbnb. It works for people who have real estate as well, and they're looking for like traditional tenants, but maybe it's a good time for you to fill in, right? You don't want the short-term rentals. You're not interested in having people only stay like 7 days or whatever. You have more of a traditional rental property. Travel nurses is still a great way to get started, especially because they're getting stipends from the hospital usually, so they have a little bit more money, which is always super dope. How to start this when you don't have another place to stay and you don't qualify to buy and you don't have the startup costs? I would say a great option for you would be co-hosting. If you are looking to minimize the amount of money you have to outlay up front and you don't want to host in your own home, co-hosting is a great way to start because you're basically leveraging someone else's property, but you're still making profit. So I would for sure say that is a great way to start. Any other questions before I get off and prepare for my next call? Because like I said, I was tripping. But I wanted to get on here. I did have one other thing, but I see another question. That's what I want to do. Yeah, so I would definitely say check out the course. Like I said, you can get started for free and still get full access to the program by doing the PayPal Pay Later option, because it's going to give you all the details. Like I have a whole section on co-hosting. Can you have more than one rental under the same EIN if it's older than 4 years old? So the attorney in me is like, I'm not, that's more of a tax and legal question that I would CPA or attorney. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. So how do we connect? Yeah, so that's definitely in the course. Yes, Silvano. I'm so bad at this. I'm gonna get better. Goldie Love, I could say hers. Are cleaning fees and the rent the only expenses deducted from the gross income? No, so if you're master leasing, you want to make sure you include your utilities in that as well. Now, if you're fortunate enough to get a place that the utilities are included in the rent, I know like in the South, I think that's a lot more common. You know, I'm coming from the East Coast, even though now I'm in the Las Vegas area, where that's not always the case. So you just want to make sure you also include your utilities. All right. Oh, the last thing I wanted to talk about is finding, great locations. And there are so many ways to do that. I talk about it in the course, but one way I wanted to share with you guys is to actually go on Airbnb, look up your city or even your property, like where you live, and see, okay, how much are people charging for if you're thinking about a 2-bedroom, or if you're thinking about a 1-bedroom, how much are people charging per night for a 1-bedroom in my desired location. I'm surprised all the time how many people are interested in Airbnb and they don't go on the Airbnb website. So definitely do that. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. You appreciated it. I'm trying to come on live a lot more often. So yeah, let me know if you weren't able to get your question answered here. You can DM me. If you're interested in doing like a one-on-one call, I have opened up my calendar a bit more to do one-on-one sessions. So it's if you go to the link in my bio, I think it's the last link. So you can book a one-on-one call with me. And if you're interested, like I said, the course is 75% off right now. I have a couple different ways that you can get started. You can pay in full and be done. You can do the payment plan of $180, 4 payments of $180, or you can get started for $0 with PayPal Pay Later. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you. I do voices sometimes. Maybe I'll come on here and do that. That's silly. But yes, I'm so excited. I'll be on here more often, and I will be back on live at least by Friday. I'm gonna do a live. So I have a mentor. I'm in like a money mentoring program, Mind Right Money Right Academy. If you're interested, that link is in my bio as well. And one of the things my mentor challenged us to do this past month was to listen to or read The Science of Getting Rich for 30 days and see what happens to your income. And I did that, and my income tripled. I was like, whatever. But I just listened because like he's a millionaire, and when millionaires talk, I feel like I should listen, right? And so I'm going to come back on Friday. That's my plan, to talk about The Science of Getting Rich. So if you're interested in that, check me out. I'll be here. But thank you guys for joining me. Click the link in my bio to get started with the BNB from Scratch course, and I will see you next time. Bye. All right.